everyone, I wanted to share some altered boxes today that use a foil technique inspired by Capricorn Artist 73, and these are the boxes that I've created. This one has been coloured with Lumiere paint in the Halo Blue Gold, and it's also got some gold rough and buff to highlight it, and it has got a gloss lacquer over the top of it as well. And you can see the texture in the sides there too. I'll just show you inside, which is the same kind of texture. And this is the second one that I did, which has got little gears in it. And the colours I used on this one, Lumiere again, it's the indigo. And I also used a second colour on this one, which is the pearl violet. And again, it's got parts that have been highlighted with gold. Just to show the texture on it, and that's the inside. So I'm going to take you through the process how I've created these, and then hopefully you'll have a go at doing something similar yourself. So the little boxes were actually these tins here, which I found these on eBay some time ago and thought they'd be quite good to alter. And inside the tins they held some beer mats. These were the little beer mats that came inside them. They've got like a metal finish on them, and then they're just cork underneath. So obviously I've not used the beer mats, I've just used the tins there. But I did decide that rather than waste the beer mats, I would have a go at altering those as well. So to begin with, you need some items that are going to give you the texture here. So on this one I've got some string that just forms a bow, and some little split rings, and some chain, and similar things on the second one. So on this one I've got the split rings again, a different type of chain. This is ball chain, and these are My Road chip pieces, the gears. So I've gone ahead and I've taken one of the beer mats, and on this one I've put some of the split rings, which are the same as the samples, some of the swirly clips, and that is a Tim Holtz key. And all I've done is just adhere those down with some glossy accents. And the next stage is to take some aluminium foil. So this is the one that I've got, which is an extra thick one. The first one that I did, this one here, when I was trying to put the foil on the first time for this technique, it was splitting quite a lot because it was a thinner foil. And what I did with it is eventually I just doubled it, so I had like 2 layers of it, and that was a lot better. But then I went out and got some of the extra thick stuff, which worked better on the second box. So all you need to do with the foil, in fact I'm going to do it with the dull side so there's not as much glare, is you're going to use some kind of adhesive and use the foil to cover. You're going to cover the piece, and then sort of manipulate it so that you can start to see the design below it. I don't know whether it's picking up a little bit. You can see the swirl coming through there. And what I also like to do is to crumple the foil a bit. I'm not going to do it now because it's going to be really noisy. But if you crumple the foil up a bit, then you're going to get more sort of this kind of texture here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed this up so you don't have to watch the whole process, because it does take a little while. Don't worry too much if it splits a little bit. Mine split a little bit on both of these, and once you put the paint and things on, you just can't tell where that split is, as long as it's small. Anything too big, obviously you're not going to be able to cover that up. Okay, we'll watch it speeded up then. So now the piece is completely covered with the aluminium foil, and I've just used a ball tool, as you could see, just to give some definition to the raised areas. The next thing you need to do is to choose whatever colour acrylic paint you want to apply to the surface for your main colour. So I'm using Lumiere brand, and this one is the Halo Pink Gold. And you just want to paint the whole surface and make sure that you get into all the small crevices where your raised areas are. So I'm just using a swirling motion because I find this most effective to get into all the wrinkles on there. And you don't need a primer like gesso or anything for this. The acrylic paint tends to go on pretty well. You do, however, need 2 coats. So I've got my first coat there, and I'm going to now let that dry and come back to it and apply a second coat of the same colour. So now I have 2 layers of paint on here, and it's pretty much dried. And as well as the Halo Pink Gold, I actually added just a little bit of the Pearlescent Magenta, which is also Lumiere paint, just sort of in a couple of areas to highlight it and add a little bit of a colour contrast. So the next thing you're going to need is some black acrylic, and you also need to have prepared a few tissues and something like a mini mister filled with water. And what you're going to do now is to take your brush, and you're actually going to cover the whole thing with the black paint, and you really need to make sure that you get the black into every little crevice, because you'll see when we do the next stage that you need the black paint in those crevices, because most of it is actually going to come off, but you do want to retain some of it, which is going to give the piece an aged look. Okay, right, so then quite quickly you're going to have to spritz this with your mini mister, and then you take your tissue and you start dabbing the paint off. And however much you leave on or take off is going to be personal choice. Whether you put it on in the first place is your own personal choice, but it's my preference to have an aged item. So just add a little bit more water to that. And you'll probably find as well when you're dabbing it off, some of your initial layers may come off. You can go back and add a little bit more of your coloured paint, or you can leave it as a highlight. I'm just going to brush some of that down, so a little bit has just come off there, but because I like an aged effect, I'm quite happy to leave that. Take a little bit more in some areas. I think it looks quite good when you leave some of the paint in the crevices that you've created, and then try and maybe clear more of it from the rest of the background. Okay. So then that needs to dry off again before we add the final stages, which is to highlight these points with some gold rub and buff and add some gloss finish to it just to seal everything. So we'll give that a few minutes to dry off and come back to it. Okay, so now the piece is more or less dry, and I did go back a little bit and just highlight some more areas with the black, so the indentations of the split rings, a little bit around the key, and on the inside of the swirl designs there. So the next stage now is to take some Rub and Buff, and this is the gold leaf colour. And if you've not used this product before, you need a very, very small amount. I don't know if you can see, but there's a tiny, tiny covering on my finger there. And you're very gently going to swirl it over the raised areas. So that'll be obviously the swirls and the key and the split rings, but also over the textured surface that you've created, and it just starts to bring that alive. And then you just continue with the piece in that way until you're happy with how much gold you've got on there. I'm not going to do the whole of the key because I think that would lose the aged effect. So although that's a raised piece, I'm just going to do the very edge of it, and just a small amount over the centre of it. So you can probably see that you need that black on there to add the contrast to the piece. And the final thing to do once you're happy with how much gold you've got on there would be to seal it with some kind of varnish. Now I use a spray lacquer, which is this one by Colourful Arts, and this has a gloss finish. So I'm just going to add that now. And then obviously give that a little bit of time to set up, and you get a really glossy piece of aged artwork that you can either put chain on or put a magnet on it, make it into a magnetic piece, or just hang on the wall. And as I say, the little boxes here you can have as little trinket boxes. You could use this technique for small pendants, maybe using something like stamp board pieces or dominoes. The next thing I'm going to try is on some jars to make storage jars with it. So hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you can take something with it, and please do visit Capricorn Artist 73, which is where I got the basis for this technique from, although there are some differences on his videos, but he's a fantastic artist and well worth checking out. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.